In this short video, I want to look at 3 ways that you can give children a financial head start in life. I want to look at why you want to do that and 3 easy steps to get them going. Okay, so we're all guilty of basically ignoring the problem, which is no one seems to want to talk to their kids about money, or not as many people as should do. Reasons are probably it's a little bit dull, getting them interested can be tricky. None of us have the time, potentially, and we assume someone else will do it. But assuming someone else will do it is a little bit dangerous because financial education is still not a big part of what schools do, and therefore leaving the job to someone else might be leaving it too late. So I'm going to suggest in this video that there are practical steps you can take to help them along the way. Now, why is it more important than ever that kids take some sort of responsibility for their own financial future, or at least get to grips with the basic principles? Well, if they don't, they're not equipped to face post-baby boomer reality. Now, if you are a baby boomer watching this, you can sit back happy that you've got probably a defined benefit pension, you enjoyed several house price booms, the state was expanding welfare and all the rest of it. But your children, grandchildren cannot take any of that for granted. House price affordability has never been worse. There are more people living at home with their parents than has ever been the case in recent history, and the average age of people buying a first-time property is going up all the time. Number 2, final salary pensions will be a thing of the past. The state still offers them, but who knows what the future holds. The state's cutting back. The number of companies that offers that kind of cosy final salary defined benefit scheme is diminishing all the time. So my friends of my father were able to sit back and say, I don't worry about retirement, and why would you when you've got a final salary scheme? Well, that's not going to be true for future generations. So not being financially savvy is increasingly not an option. University costs are rising all the time. There's political debate about should we pay tuition fees, shouldn't we? But the point is the cost of going to university is rising all the time, and young people need to take responsibility for managing that more than ever before. And as if that wasn't bad enough, the cost of borrowing is at a record low level. It can't get any lower. So the inevitable debt the increasing number of students, for example, take on and young people take on, the cost of that is going to rise because look at where the bank rate's been recently, and a quick history snapshot tells you it can only go one way, and that's got implications for anyone looking to manage debt or take on borrowing. So there you have it. Now, practical steps. There are actually more than 3, but here are my top 3 if you like. Number 1, try and make sure that kids understand the purpose of money and start to understand it early. Yes, it's a little bit dull. Yes, it's a little bit serious, but then there are some serious problems ahead for them if they don't. Number 2, teach them how to budget. Basic budgeting. I'm not talking about rocket science with multiple spreadsheets. Help them to start saving early. Let's look at those one in turn. Okay, what is money for? Now, teaching you to suck eggs probably as an adult, but it's important just to lay the groundwork. What is money actually all about? Yes, it buys security and it buys choice. It's worth having for those 2 reasons. But in fairness, it's not the solution to everything. It doesn't buy either happiness in all cases, and it doesn't buy judgment about what you spend it on once you've got it. And those 2 things are clearly, to some extent, interrelated. And kids need to understand, therefore, what money is. Money is a means to an end, and the sooner you identify that end, the better, because there are different ways to live. You can earn a lot and spend a lot, or you can earn a little and not spend very much. Obviously, you don't want to mix and match that too much by not earning much and spending a lot, for example. And there's a balance to be achieved between buying experiences and buying assets, but both of them require money. And there are theories around about consumption capital. That usually makes people more happy than that. There's no doubt about it, putting a roof over your head is a fairly big priority for most people too. So, teaching kids about what money's for, the sorts of choices they need to make, prioritising where it's going to go in the future is quite important stuff. I will leave it there. There's a whole raft of other stuff I could say, but I'll leave it there. Number 2, basic budgeting is understanding that we only have limited sources of income. And as a child, as someone growing up, you might say, well, what are those sources of income? More about that in a moment. Then there are expenses, which unfortunately mount and mount as you go through life, and the difference is a balance, positive or negative. Now, the name of the game, these are very basic lessons, but the name of the game is maximise that as far as you can, minimise those without living like a hermit, obviously, there's a balance to be struck, and that will maximise the difference. Now, practical things to get them to start to think about stuff that as an adult is crucial. Holiday jobs, home help, paid work. That is one way to get teenagers, for example, thinking about the way that money works and the sorts of choices they're going to need to make and how to maximise and generate income. On the expense side, the earlier kids understand choice. No, you can't have all three things, pick one. And if you pick one, the other two will come later. Deferred gratification is a key skill that so many of us fail to learn until it's too late. And the balance, save it. Get used to the idea of creating a surplus, cutting your expenditure, maximise your income, saving the difference. And as a parent, what can you do to encourage savings? After all, spending is the temptation. Well, there are various things you can do, but a simple scheme is, you match every pound they save with an extra pound, similar to the way some employers go about rewarding employees who do the same thing. So, again, very brief, but the basics of budgeting and understanding the reasons behind it, I think, vital early life skills. And start saving early. Now, you might say, start saving what? I mean, young people often don't have a lot of money to save, but the one power they do have on their side is compounding, and compounding is ferociously powerful. Albert Einstein is supposed to have called it the eighth wonder of the world. It's the idea of earning money on money by letting it grow. And I've done a video called The Awesome Power of Compounding, so I won't say too much about it here. But that is time, and the ability to earn interest on interest is the one thing that young people do have on their side. Now, just to give you an illustration of that, if £1,000 was invested once, just once, earning a post-inflation, now this isn't guaranteed, I've just made up the number, but it's not unrealistic in stock market terms, for example, a real return of 5% per annum, it would grow to over £1,600 after 10 years. If you're thinking, well, so what? That's a 60% increase in what it will buy, purchasing power. Now it sounds a bit more interesting. And over £2,600 after 20 years. And that's just 1,000 once at what would represent a sort of 50-year average return from, say, the UK stock market. Past is clearly no guide to the future. Now, parents can help too, all right? And the junior JISA is just one way they can do it. Supposing someone in the family, because the point is once the account's open, almost anyone can contribute. It could be grandparents, could even be friends, could be other relatives. But if a family were to combine forces and put 4,080, which happens to be the 2015-2016 maximum amount, into this tax shelter, a junior JISA, so this is going to earn tax-free returns from now on potentially, and it were able to generate, I've taken that real rate of 5% per year, where would you be having done that at the age of 2 when that child turns 18, so 16 years later? And the answer is 4,080 in for doing very little, leaving it alone, letting it grow, will have grown to more like £9,000. Or the purchasing power, if you're not impressed yet, will have more than doubled for just sitting back and doing nothing. And that's a fairly serious contribution towards their first something, car, house deposit, university fees, whatever it might be. Okay, so there it is. And if you're thinking, would you invest in the stock market on behalf of a child age 2? Well, if you can't take a bit of risk when you're 2, when can you? Okay, that was brief. Any questions on what I've just covered, please send them to the usual address.